What is up, everybody? Welcome into Tide Talk Live. Stacey Blackwood, joined as always by my good buddy Jake Thomas, as we preview the SEC championship game between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs in Atlanta on Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. Central Time on CBS. Cannot wait for that matchup, Jake. We're going to dive into that game in just a minute. But if you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with Facebook groups on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Just share our channel with all your friends, enemies, neighbors, whoever. Just share our channel. We would greatly appreciate that. And then jump in the comment section as well and give us your thoughts and opinions on this matchup and your score prediction too. So we look forward to reading all those comments and kind of interacting with you there in the comment section afterwards. All right, Jake, before we even really dive into the game, I want to ask you this. Let's just assume Alabama wins this game against Georgia. Do they need help outside, with the other teams that are playing on championship Saturday or championship weekend, because Oregon and Washington will play on Friday night? Do they need help from these other conferences to get in, even with a win over Georgia?
Yeah, but they should have to. But they do because the last 6 weeks we have been stuck at 8, and they just refuse to move us up. Now I understand Texas has been ahead of us because of the head-to-head matchup, but we have said time and time again, Stacey, about Oregon. Oregon's best win is against a 4-loss team in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama's best win is, you can line them up. LSU, you could say Ole Miss. That takes precedent, I would feel like. And I think Texas has a couple of big wins as well. So, I don't understand why Oregon's still there. They got moved up to 5th now, but ahead of Ohio State. But I'm telling you, if I just feel like if something happens, they're going to move Ohio State up to that 4th spot, or Oregon, and leave Texas and Alabama out. I can just see it happening like that.
Well, I'll disagree on the Ohio State part, because I do think that it's going to benefit everybody that's playing on championship weekend, that especially for those ranked behind Ohio State, to jump Ohio State with a win. So, if Alabama, Texas, win their conference championship games, they're going to jump Ohio State, because, they would all have one loss, but those two teams would be conference champions. So I do think Ohio State's they're completely out of the equation unless absolute mayhem happens.
Right.
Which I don't really see happening. But as far as does Alabama need help, I've went back and forth a ton on this in my head and in my thoughts. But I'm just going to be real. I don't think they do, Jake. I don't, despite their best efforts to keep Alabama, ranked number 8, no matter what. It does seem like Oregon has been the committee's darling ever since their rankings have been coming out for whatever reason. And they keep talking about Bo Nix and the season that he's having. Like he's the only quarterback that's done anything all year.
Right.
It's just that part's really strange to me. But a one-loss SEC champion, and in this case Alabama, with a win over Georgia, who's won. You can tell me those 29 games they've won in a row don't matter, but that's bullcrap. That matters.
It does.
That matters. They have been dominant since the 2021 SEC championship game when Alabama beat them there in Atlanta that season. So, look, that matters. I cannot envision the scenario where the committee looks at a 12-1 Alabama with wins over Ole Miss, who's going to go to a New Year's Six game, LSU, who perhaps has the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback on its team, and a win over the back-to-back national champs who were on a 29-game winning streak.
Yeah.
And Jake, if Alabama gets left out after accomplishing that, then the committee would have a lot of explaining to do. Because if it's truly about getting the 4 best teams in, then Alabama would be one of the 4 best teams, regardless of what happened in week 2 against Texas. And I'm not saying you leave Texas out. I'm just saying the resume, if both Texas and Alabama win, their resumes as a whole for the entire season is greater than what Oregon's would be.
Yeah.
So And look, I said last week on our show that I was kind of had mixed feelings on Florida State. The more I think about it, Jake, Florida State can't get in. I'm sorry. Even if they beat Louisville, Jake, they can't get in.
Right.
It's about the four best teams. They're not one of the four best teams without their best player.
Exactly.
I mean, that's you just. I hate it for them. I really do. I hate it for Florida State. They've had a great season. I hate it for all those other kids. But if we want the four best teams, you don't put a team in who's missing their star player who happens to be a quarterback. You just can't. That's not how you do it.
No.
So that's my 2 cents on that. But to me, Alabama's just got to take care of business. I think if they take care of business on Saturday, they're going to get in. I don't know how it works out, but I just cannot foresee this committee being able to talk amongst themselves and say, no, I don't think Alabama's one of the four best teams after beating Georgia and winning the SEC with only one loss. Because if that's the case, Jake, I don't know. I don't know what else you do if you're a team. I mean, it's just if it's all about just winning every game, then don't ever schedule tough non-conference opponents.
Yeah, we better be scheduling like UMass next year and years after.
It's and by the way, speaking of next year, they've released part of the schedule and all that. And I think there's going to be a big announcement. I think December 13th is what the complete SEC schedule is going to be released. But I want to say this about that. And Alabama fans and Georgia fans, I think, more than most fan bases need to realize that next year and beyond, the old 12-0 or the old going undefeated is that's just not going to happen.
Right.
You better be happy with 10-2.
Yeah.
That would be an elite season with what these teams in the SEC are going to have to be going against. I mean, you're looking at Alabama's road games next year, just their road games. LSU, Tennessee, Oklahoma. Who else? There's another really tough one. Who am I missing, Jake? There's one. No, they play Auburn at home. There's one other.
Missouri, perhaps.
No, I think Missouri's at
home. Okay.
No, never mind. The final away game would be at Vanderbilt, so that's not that tough.
Yeah, that's not that tough.
But 3 road games at LSU, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. If you win one of those games, you honestly kind of be okay. I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's tough. It's tough, and we'll talk about that throughout the offseason. Let's get into this SEC championship game, Jake, and preview it like we always do each and every week. We're going to look at keys to victory and some players to watch, and then our bold predictions and our score predictions before we head out. So, Jake, what do you envision is the key to victory for this Alabama team against Georgia?
Key to victory for me is the defense showing up and stopping the run. I have said, and I said this on my Wednesday night show that I do, SC After Dark, but Georgia has not faced a defense like Alabama is capable of. And everybody wants to talk about Auburn running for over 200 yards against Alabama. Well, they also ran for over 200 against Georgia as well. So, I'm not worried about that. We know how voodoo works down there on the plains. They just need to bulldoze that stadium down and rebuild off of that patch of land that they're on. But regardless of that, the defense, I feel like, is going to be the best that Georgia's played all season. And you're going. Oh, go ahead.
I want to make a note on that. The as far as like the defensive rankings, efficiency rankings, the best defense that Georgia has faced, who do you think it's been all year?
Maybe Tennessee or Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, which is 35th in the country.
Right. Alabama's what, 6th or something?
Yeah,
like
they're in the top 10 at least, maybe even the top 5.
Yeah. So it is going to be a different team defense that Georgia's seen all year. So we've got to play within ourselves. Don't have, just don't make mistakes. Don't get out of position, hit those holes and cause a couple of turnovers. I feel like turnovers is going to be a big part of this game potentially, especially to help Alabama win. So I think the defense is going to come up big.
Yeah, and I like what you're talking about there with the defense. And I think the defense is going to be key in this game because I think you're going to see both teams have a lot of playmakers on offense. So there's going to be some yardage. There's going to be, some both teams are going to move the football and have success in between the 20s. So I think the key to the game is red zone offense for Alabama and red zone defense for Alabama. And Alabama has proven, I think, going into that Auburn game, and I think you basically got to throw the Auburn game out because, Jake, it's such a, like you mentioned, it's such a weird game. But going into that Auburn game, Alabama had converted 18 of 19 red zone possessions into touchdowns.
Yep.
18 of 19.
That's incredible.
So they're highly efficient once they get into that red zone. And a lot of that has to do with Jalen Milroe's ability to run and how it kind of keeps defenses off balance. So I think that's going to be key for Alabama. They need to convert in the red zone with touchdowns. And I think defensively for Alabama, you have to understand that you're probably going to give up some yards between the 20s, but you got to hunker down and get red zone stops and force field goals. And I think that's going to be the key to this game. Which team, has success in the red zone?
Right. I agree.
I think that's going to be huge, Jake. That's the matchup to watch to me because, like I said, I do think both teams are capable of moving the ball against the other team's defense. I'm not going to say it's going to be, each team's going to have 400 or 500 yards. I'm just saying there's going to be plenty of drives and opportunities for each of these teams to convert touchdowns. So it's going to be about which defense can step up and play well in the red zone and force some field goal attempts. And I think that's the team that's going to win.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. It's all about the red zone, and it's incredible how Alabama's stats in their offensively in the red zone this year, the 18 of 19 before the Auburn game, and we had such an issue trying to score a few years ago in the red zone, and we had arguably one of the best quarterbacks, that comes through Alabama history, and Bryce Young during that time, and we just had issues. That seems like it's gone now, so that's good. We're getting in the red zone, and we're actually putting together touchdowns instead of just field goals.
Yeah, that's huge, and I think if you go back to that national championship game, it felt like in that second half, Alabama was knocking on the door, 4 or 5 times in that second half and just could not finish those drives. And that turned out to be the turning point of the game, Jake. And, the defense could only hold them for so long. And eventually Georgia started making plays. And, that was sort of the difference in the game.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. But yeah, I'm excited about this game. I really think defensively we're going to show and play. I really feel like the defensive line, we're going to have some guys step up and get some. The biggest thing for me is getting pressure on Carson Beck because when I think he's only been sacked like 8 times.
8 times.
Yeah, that's incredible. They got a really good defensive or offensive line. We've got a really good defensive line. We've got to get after him, and those 2 edge rushers got to get after him Saturday.
Yeah, so it's going to be key for Alabama to play well on early downs, to force Georgia into those long third down situations where Chris Braswell and Dallas Turner can kind of pin their ears back and get after Carson Beck. So, yeah, no doubt that's a big part of the game as well. All right, Jake, who are some guys that you're going to be watching on Saturday?
Offensively, I'm going to be watching. This is probably a safe pick, but Jalen Milroe, just because his improvement each week we have seen, and a lot of his issues early on was, of course, his passing. Now his deep ball has been pretty since the get go, but a lot of people was talking about his short and intermediate passes. He has improved a ton on those as well. And if they're going to have one guy spying, which I feel like they're going to spy him a lot in this game just because of his running ability, you're going to have somebody that's going to be left open. It's probably going to be a short route. So if he's able to, connect on those short and intermediate passes in this game, we're going to have some success offensively and defensively. I'm looking at, this is his time to shine. Pretty much his last time playing the SEC championship game. This is for a lot of guys. Look at Malachi Moore. I feel like Malachi is going to have a really big game in this game.
I love those picks, and Milroe is the obvious one offensively for Alabama. So I'm going to go a little bit different direction. Of course, we know now that Jace McClellan's not going to play this weekend with a banged up foot. So you got to think Rodell Williams, Jam Miller, maybe even Justice Haynes see a little more action this weekend. So I'm just going to go with the Tide running backs as a whole. and how they perform against Georgia, because I do think that they can make plays not only in the running game, but like you mentioned, that short passing game, hitting the backside of the backfield, whether it's a design route or the hot read on a blitz, whatever the case may be. So I'm just going to be watching those Alabama running backs to see what kind of plays they can make without Jace McClellan there, the starting running back for the Tide. Defensively, Jake, it starts up front. We need Justin Aboybe. We need Jaheim Otis. We need Tim Smith. We need that group to play well, Jake. We need those guys to control the line of scrimmage, not allow Georgia to have any kind of consistent rushing attack.
Yeah.
So to put the game on Carson Beck's shoulders, Jake, I think Carson Beck's a great quarterback. I think outside of Jaden Daniels, it's Carson Beck and Jalen Milroe neck and neck on who the top quarterback is in the conference. So I think he's more than capable of leading that team. But if you can make a team one-dimensional, Jake, it just makes playing defense so much easier. Right. So I'm looking forward to that defensive front showing up and showing out, controlling the line of scrimmage, not only stopping the run or slowing down that rushing attack, which Kendall Milton has been on a tear as of late for the Bulldogs. So that's going to be key, slowing him down. But then also on those third down situations, being able to put pressure on Carson Beck, something that most teams have not been able to do all season long. But I'm with you, Jake. This is a completely different defensive front than what Georgia's seen all season long.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. Those big boys in the middle, they've been playing great. Tim Keenan as well. So I feel like the defensive front that they're going to be key in this game. And I think, Boygby is another guy who I want to see show out in this game because it's his last SEC championship game.
No doubt about it. What a comeback story he's been, Jake.
Yeah.
Justin Aboybe. We could go on and on about him. He's one of those guys who, when we look back in a few years, you're like, man, that dude gave all he had to Alabama.
He did.
So, kudos to Justin Aboybe. Really appreciate what he's done for Alabama.
Absolutely.
All right, Jake, bowl prediction time. This is always a fun part of the show because neither one of us know where the other's going to go. And I don't know about you, but I always have to think of these things on the fly because I don't ever really think about it during the week.
I know. Yeah.
But so, all right, Jake, I'm putting you on the spot. What is your bowl prediction for Saturday afternoon?
I think Alabama's got a couple of X factors. I would say one of them being Justice Haynes, but the other guy out wide used to be on this Georgia team, and that is Jermaine Burton. I think Jermaine is going to have a huge game, and he's going to be one of Milroe's favorite targets. I can see Jermaine Burton having 150, reception yards with a couple of touchdowns.
Well, I love that. I love that. Don't you know that would be such a great redemption story for him?
Right.
And not even that it ended bad at Georgia or anything. There's nothing like that. Just the fact that, he kind of was a big deal in the championship game when Georgia beat us, and he was a freshman on that team.
Yeah.
Or a sophomore, excuse me. And now he has a chance to kind of do the reverse to Georgia. So that would be an awesome way for Burton to kind of go out in the SEC championship game against his former team. I love that pick. My bold prediction is that Roydell Williams kind of, no, I don't want to say carries the team. That's too bold. But I think Roydell Williams makes clutch plays in this game, whether it's catching a ball in the red zone on a 3rd and 7 for a touchdown, breaking a tackle, inside the 10-yard line to get in for a touchdown. I just think we see a multiple touchdown performance from Roydell Williams coming in for the injured Jace McClellan and really stepping up and kind of shining in his moment that he gets as a starter for Alabama in the backfield. So I'm looking for a big day for Roydell Williams.
Yeah, I love that pick too, Stacey. I really love Jace and how he plays. But Roydell, when he comes in, it's just, it's a different dynamic when he's on the field. He's hitting the hole hard. He's running people over. Jim Miller is the same way. So I expect, I'm going to miss Jace in this situation, but I'm confident the other two guys and Justice Haynes and Richard Young, if he gets on the field, they can hold the fort down and let Jace get healthy for potentially a national championship run.
Yeah, Roydell just runs so angry, Jake. He
does.
He runs like a man possessed, and he's not the most gifted player, no doubt about it, but he runs hard and he plays hard, and that's a big part of the game. So I'm feeling Roydell having I don't want to say a breakout performance. I don't think he's going to put up just massive numbers, but I think he's going to make a couple clutch plays for Alabama that people are going to remember for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. And those 3rd and 7, like you said, situations we don't need like what happened last week with Amari Black. If you get the ball right there near the first down marker, don't try to juke a dude out. Just run him over.
I have to imagine about the only message that Jalen Milroe received all week was, if you've got somewhere to run, run.
Right. Yep.
Because against this Georgia team, one of the best things that you can do is just move the chains.
Right. Exactly.
Just move the chains.
Mm-hmm.
So if Milroe can do that, Alabama's going to have some success in this game.
I agree.
All right, Jake, let's wrap it up, man. Score prediction time. Cannot wait to hear what you got to say about this game, Jake.
You know, I think the spread right now. A couple of nights ago, when we previewed this game, I think it was like 6.5. I'm not sure where it's at now, but
it says 5.5 right now. What I'm looking at.
Okay, so I have talked about for weeks with some of these other teams, kind of like a Florida situation, and being like a 5-7 team. When you have your back against the wall, you got to come out punching, because your season's on the line. Well, essentially in this situation, Alabama's season is on the line. So your back's against the wall. You're going against the best team, arguably in college football for the last couple of years. You used to be that team. Do you want to get back there? And if you got to get back there, you've got to go out swinging against Georgia and beat them. So I think the mindset's there. This team is special. Has been special all year. They're growing. They're so fun to watch. And like we have talked about, Stacey, they're still not, this late in the season, still not a finished product on the offensive side of the ball. So I think Alabama, with that puncher's chance, it's a long shot, but I feel like Alabama's going to win this game. And I'm saying it's going to be like a 34-28 type game.
I like where you're going, Jake, and I'll be honest with you. This is one of those games that's so tough to pick. I mean, it's just like the 2021 game.
Yeah.
Look, Georgia is probably the better team.
Yeah.
I mean, they are a 5.5, 6-point favorite, whatever you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably a better team. And I think if these two teams play 10 times, Georgia probably wins 6 out of the 10.
Mm-hmm.
I can't bet against Nick Saban and Alabama as underdogs, Jake.
Nope.
It don't happen often. And usually when it happens, Alabama comes out with a chip on their shoulder. Mm-hmm. And this team kind of plays with that anyway.
Right.
Especially what happened early on in the season, Jake. This team feels like they just find a way to win. They make the necessary in-game adjustments. They just find ways to get it done, Jake. I think they get it done Saturday. I think it's a good game. I think it's a great game. I think it's a close game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Alabama gets one key defensive red zone stop that is the difference in the game, and they win 28-24.
Love it. Yep. I can see it happening.
And Alabama is your 2023 SEC champs. They end Georgia's 29-game winning streak. And look, I'll be honest with you, Jake. I have a lot of respect for Kirby Smart in Georgia. Mm-hmm. We can talk about their schedule all we want, but winning 29 games in a row is an unbelievable feat. They've won back-to-back national champs. And Jake, if they beat Alabama on Saturday, they're going to win. They're going to three-peat.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Alabama is the best team to beat them this year. Honestly.
Alabama has if Georgia's going to get beat, it's going to be beat by Alabama. This is the de facto national championship, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, look, I thought that I would have a lot of bitterness if Kirby Smart and Georgia win another national championship, and maybe I will at that point in time. But look, man, you just got to tip your hat to him. Mm-hmm. I mean, but I don't think they get it done, Jake. I think Alabama and Nick Saban as underdogs with that chip on their shoulder, they just get it done. 28-24, SEC champs.
Yep, I agree. And one other key thing, real quick, is we're going to see Will Rockard make all-time history. History.
He just needs 1 point.
Just 1 point. Yeah. So an extra point, and he's got it.
That's incredible, Jake. Incredible.
Yeah.
Hey, also, before we head out, programming note: no biscuits with Bama on Saturday.
Yeah.
No, but we will be live on the Bleacher Report app, mobile app, directly following the SEC championship game. Win, lose, draw, whatever it is, we will be there on the Bleacher Report app. So make sure you check us out there. And if you can't check us out there, we will upload the video here on our YouTube channel as well.
Yep.
All right, Jake. Cannot wait for the game. Looking forward to it. Going to be a great game. And we both are picking the Tide, as you can imagine, on an Alabama podcast. But,
Right.
but guys, thank you so much for watching. Been a lot of fun. Make sure you do like, share, and subscribe today. Jump in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts on the game and your score prediction as well. We cannot wait to hear what you have to say there. But we'll see you guys real soon. And until then, roll Tide.
Roll Tide.